Alright, this is how to make an actually good Dungeons and Dragons boss or legendary monster. So most of them are like super bland, like the red dragon. Every single turn it's going to do the same thing. It'll use its frightful presence and it'll just attack you 3 times with its legendary action. It does have a wing attack, which is cool, but tail attack is just an attack. So there's really no variation. It'll either fly away and use fire breath or come in and just do its series of attacks. The Kraken is quite a bit better, especially because it's underwater with all its flinging and ink cloud and such. Its legendary actions really are important as it can swim around and stuff. That one can be quite good. The Tarask is pretty much the worst though, because it'll attack you, it'll frightful presence and then just attack you, and then legendary actions it just attacks. It's really bland. The only way to make this exciting is to have a cool environment around and knocking down buildings and such. But the point being, most of D&D has very bland monster design. So this is how to make them better. I have 2 examples that I've made. I just keep them in a Google Doc for now. There's a good program or something that I use to make them into looking like professional stat blocks. So here's the first one, Castle of Thar, the Angel of Tears. This is the final boss for the Act 1 of my campaign. The idea is he's like a fallen angel who is all weepy and stuff. He's got broken wings and whatever. So this is what makes him much more of an exciting boss. So I guess I'll go over his basic things. He has AC 17, 221 hit points, which is standard for that CR. I didn't give him resistance to the physical damage types or magic resistance because I wanted him to be much more neutral. Alright, so here's the first point of making a good one is having it be thematic. So this guy, in my world, angels, in heaven is like representing fire, and the abyss is hell, is representing darkness. So the theme for this guy is a lot of fire stuff, so he's resistant to fire and radiant because of angel, and then vulnerability to cold. I think damage vulnerabilities are like never used, and I think that sucks. I think lots of monsters should have thematic vulnerabilities and resistances, even on weak monsters. For instance, I made this turnkey, which is inspired by the jailers from Dark Souls 3. They're vulnerable to fire and lightning, but resistant to cold and necrotic, which is just kind of thematic. Yeah, okay, so back to Castle of Einthar. Yeah, so that's the first thing. Vulnerabilities and resistances being thematic is cool. For instance, the dragon, he has neither of those, which is kind of cool, you know. He doesn't have magic resistance or resistance to physical things, so it kind of just, he doesn't lean towards mages or physical guys, which is another good point. It's often good to have a monster be particularly good against mages or particularly good against warriors. Yeah, so that's one thing. So for the adult red dragon, like, it's fine. I think it's cool to have some monsters that are pretty neutral, like dragons who are very legendary, but that's the first point. After that is the moveset. I like to think of these bosses, these legendary monsters, much more like video game bosses, like Dark Souls bosses. So there'll be a bunch of different cool movesets they'll use, but they're not just spammable. They're not like most D&D monsters are, like this, where he'll just attack or use fire breath, or the Trask, he just attacks every turn. Even the Kraken, he's kind of limited. He has some abilities that he'll use strategically, but it won't feel much like a boss fight. It'll just feel like you're fighting a really strong bandit or something. So for this, he has a multi-attack with the Flame Tongue, which is pretty standard, but he does have 2 other options. He has a gunshot for ranged. There are guns in my world, so he has like an automatic machine gun, which the party doesn't get until like Act 3, so it's fine. It's really just kind of showing it. I just think it's cool if he has like a fire sword, and then he's like, ooh, kind of bending over, and then he goes with the gun. So he's got Hail of Lead, which is a cool AoE attack with the gun. But then the legendary actions is really kind of what makes him feel like a boss fight. So you remember the Beholder? He has a bunch of eye rays, 10 eye rays, but In battle, you randomize which ones he's going to use, because that would just make for a boring and one-sided battle if he just used his disintegration ray every time. So same idea with this. He uses his epic power, and there's 3 cool moves that he can use, but it's selected randomly each round. So he has this variation with his typical move set here, combined with his legendary actions here. He can do a leaping slam where he'll jump and like slam the ground. That'll make it difficult terrain and do damage, could make him fall prone. He has a scorching dash where he'll like run in a straight line, knock people aside, do fire damage, and then leave a path of fire there for a round, so that's cool. And then Shed Tears is thematic with his fallen angel state, so he'll wail. It's basically like a fear spell. And so yeah, that's one example of how to make a much more exciting boss fight. And also to keep it thematic to who this monster is. He's an angel. He's fallen from heaven. Heaven is a place of fire, and so he's like this sorrowful being. And yeah, so that would be a much more exciting boss fight. And here's a second example. This is the Doom Lord of Shadowfell, Bond Warden Vurisil. This is a kind of a mini boss at the end of a dungeon in one of the first quests, Unwelcome Memories. So he has AC 15, hit points 133. Now that's pretty high for Challenge 5, I think. But that's because, and the thematic resistances and vulnerabilities again. And this one does have resistance, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks, because he's meant to survive for quite a long time. But also he acts slowly, so that's kind of the point of this boss fight in his thing. Whereas the last one was pretty fast-paced, this guy is rather slow-paced. If you're wondering what the condition vulnerability is, I made a new condition, Bloodied. It's basically like taking bleed damage every turn, and undead are by default immune to it, but he's not. Yeah, and he does not have magic resistance, which is important, so he's vulnerable to fire and lightning already. Resistant to cold and necrotic, that potatoes was my phone. And so that's kind of his resistance against mages already, or his vulnerability. It makes it thematic and more interesting. And his actions, you see, he doesn't have any legendary actions, because his thing is he just takes 1 action per turn, but he has multiple actions with a recharge, so it can be interesting in combination with his spellcasting. So he has a Branding Iron, which is just a good attack, and it's thematic with the other turnkeys, because he's basically like a strong jailer from Dark Souls, right? He's a turnkey lord. So it'll deal fire damage, and then it reduces their hit point maximum, which is thematic and a cool thing. And then he's got these 3 abilities on recharge. Sphere of Shadow, he hurls a great black sphere at them. And then Soul of Flame, he begins channeling, much like a lot of video game bosses do. While he's doing that, he takes less damage, and then he'll explode in a strong burst of fire. So the party completely has a chance to get away, but if they don't take the hint and stay close, they'll take a lot of damage. And then Decoy Assemblage is the one that really makes him interesting. So he'll like make clones of himself around the world, and the clones can cast Eldritch Blast, just a single beam of it. So you are incentivized to still kill the clones, but then they'll vanish as soon as they die. Then he has Teleport, because that helps with his it's important for Decoy Assemblage, I suppose. But that's part of his thing. And then also in the boss room where he's encountered, there's a big cage of corpses in the middle of the room that like swings in a direction each round, so that helps to make it interesting. So those are 2 examples of how to make legendary monsters in D&D much more interesting. You got to think of it like a Dark Souls boss, to have cool, unique abilities that it'll like cycle through, not to have it just stand there and attack like a Trask will. You want to give the party ways to outthink them, like with Soul of Flame here, where they can see it channeling, so they back off and prepare. Or with Decoy Assemblage, where they gotta keep track of which one's real by figuring out that the fake ones only catch Eldritch Blast. And with Cassilis, where'd he go? He's got a lot of different moves, a lot of variation, and his thing, it really yields a lot of strategic value to positioning where your party is, and There's really a lot of versatility with this one. It's much more fast-paced, which makes for a good final boss for the Act 1. So that's how to make, yeah, and remember the vulnerabilities and resistances. Keep it thematic, keep it exciting. Everything should have some vulnerabilities and some resistances for the most part, because that's cool. Then everything has a weakness you can expose. And players like that. Players like finding advantages. It rewards them for being clever, and etc. Alright, that's how to make exciting D&D bosses.